Okay, Christy, we are here to celebrate the publishing of your tiny course called Facilitating Sacred Circles. To hear a bit of the story as well of why you chose it and how you went about it, and also to inspire others who maybe also want to create a tiny course. So, first of all, cheers with my cup of tea. Congratulations
Years. Thank
on
you.
this creation because it does tend to be a big deal. I mean, a lot of people I have spoken to who've gone through the Create a Tiny course, they've wanted to do this for like a couple of years, like 3, 5 years, and finally they've been able to do it. So it's such a big achievement. So before we kind of dive into a bit of the story, can you just share a little bit about like who you work with and the kind of things that you're helping them with?
Yeah. So I'm a Wayfinder life coach and Sacred Sister Circle facilitator. I kind of created that name myself for what I
Nice.
do. Um, and the Sacred Sister Circling, that sort of came later and by accident. But the women that I serve in that capacity, well, first, it's anyone who identifies as a woman.
Mhm.
And they tend to be local to my community in Chicago, but I also have I've had a few sisters from Europe join calls, Zoom calls before. And women from age 20 to 59, at least, maybe older. We have grandmothers, college students, single moms, homeschoolers, PhD consultants, law enforcement, retired law enforcement. I mean, the
Wow.
range of who I work with is huge. And we have really, really strong representation from the LGBTQ plus community and BIPOC communities as well. So it's just people see a post on a community Facebook group saying there's a circle at around my fire pit, and you're welcome to join if you identify as a woman, and you get to choose. I'm not telling you
Yeah,
who that
okay. And
is.
what is it that draws them there, do you think?
Community,
Yeah,
sisterhood. I mean, so often
yeah.
like our relationships with other women, there's like this sort of either I don't know, like I think very much a cultural thing. There's like often a cattiness. There's not like depth and connection a lot of times,
Mhm.
or it might be based on something more negative or there's drama. And this is like the antidote to that,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah,
So
it's true. I think sometimes those women who are closest to us, it can be hard to really be whatever who we want to be or, be our evolving self or whatever. So, yeah. So I'm interested in the backstory as to why you chose this topic. And I guess you kind of hinted in and there's a bit of a backstory for you with circles. So I guess that is all intertwined. So tell me about that.
yeah, so I was drinking ample quantities of vino around my fire pit one night in May of 2022, and I just got this itch to call it a sacred sister circle. I don't know where it came from. I mean, I've been in circles a long, long time ago that were really powerful in my life, but I don't know where that itch at that moment came from. But I posted to a neighborhood Facebook group that I never engaged with ever, a small one, and said, "Join me." And I the posted the full moon date. And the next day, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to follow through. People have been commenting. Everyone's excited. Like, where did these
Yeah.
people come from?" So that's where the circling journey began. And I've been holding a monthly or semi-monthly ever since. And so the tiny course, like why I chose this topic. So as a Wayfinder life coach, I'm always like, it's like, how do you create a tiny course on coaching? I mean, I don't think you can. It's so individual to the person. And I think it really needs to be like, there needs to be like actual engagement between two humans, I think, for that sort of thing. But when I was thinking about the circling, that part seemed easier to me. And
Yeah.
I've also like historically, I've had so many women when I posted my Instagram account, circle, full moon circle, DM me and like want resources. They want to know how to do it. There's
Mm.
trainings out there, live trainings, and I have done a couple. But I also found that like I did them more because I was curious what other people are doing and how other people are, training and facilitating circles. And what I found was that they weren't deep enough for me.
Mm.
they didn't, like, they lack certain things that I think are super important, at least in the circles I facilitate. There's an equity piece. There's a safety piece that I felt were glossed over at best. And so I think I wanted to put something out there that was low cost, that didn't require months of in-person commitment, or live commitment, I should say, and that gave people the tools, just the basic tools, so that they could start calling circles. Because I mean, you don't need a big training to do it, but I think a lot of people just don't know where to start. And so that's kind of, I guess, the backstory.
Yeah. And what was your experience like of the actual creation process and following the process outlined in Create a Tiny Course?
So you've done a fantastic job of
Thank you.
creating a tiny course on teaching us how to create tiny courses. It's
Yeah.
I love saying that. I haven't figured out how to say that well, but you did a fantastic job. And so just going through your steps, you laid it out so well. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, like, most of the stuff I could have figured out on my own.
Yeah.
Maybe all of it, or probably all of it, but
Yeah.
at what cost? You know, like, I love efficiency. I'm an economist by education, and inefficiency drives me crazy. So, like, I didn't want to spend time trying to figure out how to use a course platform or which one to use. I mean, you walked us through how to set up a free Thinkific account, and that was great. It saved me so much time. Other things, like, I don't remember the exact steps that I took, because I have, it's been a little while since I created this course, but I remember just walking through your steps, literally, like, as you put them out. Normally when I do a tiny or any course, like, I might not complete every step before I jump to the next lesson. And this time I did. I followed your format. I didn't jump ahead, because when I jump ahead, I'm so likely not going to actually go back and, so I kind of committed to myself to follow it through. And so, I also, one of the things that you shared in your tiny course that was really valuable for me as a perfectionist is that you don't, like, really edit your videos. And when you said that like gave me so much permission to just let it be okay. Like, there's one of my videos that I stumbled on something, like my slide wasn't quite right. Like, I had a glitch that I missed for some reason. And I was okay with that. And I stumbled for a second, and it's like, you know what? Whatever. It's the content's there. The text that goes along with the slides is there. It's fine. Let it go. And that, even just that little thing in and of itself, like, I have ScreenFlow for my computer. I used to, like, go through, record like a podcast or something, like an hour long, and then go through, watch it almost in like slow motion, editing little stupid stuff. And that was so time consuming. I think that was a huge barrier for me. And seeing that, how it played out for you and what you shared, it was like the heavens opened or something. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but
it probably hasn't always been the way that I've done that, but I've got more and more comfortable. And like, even though I look over my own slides and things like that, there's ultimately an error in a slide, and I notice it in the middle of recording. And and then I'll go, oh, that's meant to say whatever, and I just move on, because it's like, I might be like 10 minutes in and it's gone perfectly, and it can often be more time consuming to go back and edit a 10-minute video. Like, it could take half an hour. So
yeah. And then along those lines too, I mean, there were times that I re-recorded videos. I think I re-recorded, like, at least every take, at least once, maybe twice. But the whole thing, start to finish, like, when I began your course, when I had all of my videos ready, and, like, I think even Thinkific created and my colors updated and my payments linked and all that, I think that took me maybe a month tops. And and then at the very last minute, I even, like, decided, I took another month to decide to actually launch it. But that was, like, the course was done and ready to go. And
how many, like, hours a week, or what did that look like in terms of time invested each week or something?
Not much at all, because I mean, I knew my topic, and part of it was, like, organizing my thoughts. And then I did do, like, a dry run, and then I was like, you know what? I don't feel like this really nails what I want to share. And so I redid it. And even that's mixed into the 1 month, that I said. I don't remember, but I would say definitely no more than 3 to 5 hours a week.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah.
And that includes the video recording days that
Yeah.
are like nothing but recording and re-recording. So
Yeah. Well, let's have a look at the sales page, what you come up with. It's absolutely beautiful. All right, here we have it, your beautiful sales page for this tiny course. Now, this is hosted on your website as opposed to Thinkific, yeah?
Actually, no, the sales page is on my website, but it is hosted on Thinkific. So I just
Oh,
linked to
yeah,
Thinkific.
sorry.
But this is the page I want people to come to and see. The Thinkific isn't like, it's really not set up to bring new people into it.
But there
If that
isn't,
makes sense.
so the course is on Thinkific, but this is the sales page. The sales page isn't on Thinkific, or do we?
If you were to click take the
like,
course,
okay.
if you were to click that, you would go to Thinkific. But see, it's kind of boring.
Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. Yeah. Yep, I see. All right. So this is your main page, which I totally love. I love the imagery. I love how you've incorporated the messaging framework as well. This is lovely.
Yes. Yeah, you recognize it.
Yeah. And it's really good. Oh, and I love how you've got these two options, haven't you? That you can either do essentially a self-study version or you can have a mentored version. Yeah.
Yeah, the mentoring part came from, people who I know so many sisters who've done circle trainings, and even the gal, like, one of my purchasers, if you will, who are like, okay, I have all the information, I can do it. And yet I'm still holding myself back. I'll do it someday. I'm afraid. So that sort of, it's just for that intention. It was kind of like an afterthought, but I was like, that's actually, yeah.
So if we click on go to the mentoring, I'm just curious how you've set this up now. That is going to go to a sort of a checkout thing. Yeah, nice. I like that. Yeah. All right, let's click back and go down to the end. Nice. Yeah, it's so good. Did you design this website yourself?
So it's a WordPress site, and I bought a template, but I totally overhauled the template. So most of it, it's like there's like a skeleton structure and stuff, but I pretty much did everything else.
Yeah. I remember seeing something here that I hadn't thought of. And I don't know where that is now. But yeah, you've incorporated some pretty cool things in here. So I really, really love that. And we're going to have a chat about one of the things that you cover in this course, because I've had a look inside, and it's the piece about equity sharing. And I thought this was so interesting because for me, like I have these, it's always been an issue, right? And then I've gone through times where I'm like, okay, I need to have some, I need to be upfront, have some guidelines around this or whatever. And so I've done that. And then I've had a good run for a while, and then I forget to mention them, until you get that person who just talks and talks. And then I'm in this awkward position of like, oh my God, like now I feel bad because I need to interrupt them and I need to, so I think everyone's experienced this either as the participant who's going, or as the facilitator. So what's your experience of this been? Is there anything you'd like to speak to about that sort of scenario? Any wisdom you'd like to share? I know you go more into detail in the course, but what are your thoughts around this?
So,
and maybe just say what is equity sharing in case people don't know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So for me, and the way I view equity and sharing is that each sister has equal time to share. And that's in circles. A lot of the times, most of the circles that I've been in, there'll be sort of lip service to this. Like, everyone, there's an opportunity for everyone to share here, whatever. And then somebody starts, but there's no like real guidelines on what that looks like. What does that mean? And so usually what happens is, and I'm just going to be very general here, like more extroverted people, I'm very introverted. The extroverts or the people who are chomping at the bit to share will share. They'll take a while. And then by the time we're getting towards time and there's still several people who haven't shared and nobody could possibly share for the same amount of time as the people at the beginning. And then circle after circle, if you have the same crowd, a lot of times it's the same people sharing from the beginning.
Yeah.
And like I said, for introverts like me, for people who like to pause before they speak, people who maybe are from a marginalized community who don't feel safe to, make their voices heard, we're all sitting back sort of in the sidelines so often. And it's like, technically it's fair, but it doesn't really account for the way humans operate, I think. Yeah. And so what, the very first circling training that I took, they introduced this idea of equity and sharing. I don't think they called it that, but it was the same thing. And it was, everybody has the same amount of time. And part of this is like, so in my circles, the circles I facilitate, usually that's at least 5 minutes, because I found that that's kind of like the minimum to feel like you really have time to express yourself to the extent that a lot of women want to. So minimum 5, up to 7 or 8, depending on the group and the size, and which can create problems with bigger circles, but there's ways to deal with that. And anyway, and so I always I let somebody, whoever wants to start is welcome to start. But from there, we go around a circle, either clockwise or counterclockwise. It's not a popcorn style, because I feel like popcorn style, I'm just not a fan. Yeah. And to signal the time is up, because that's a big thing. Like if it's a Zoom call, I'll wave like a big feather, like across the screen. So it's not really disruptive. And it's never like, okay, cut yourself off right now, but it's like, wrap up your share, and so people do that. People get their 5 minutes or whatever it is. If they don't say anything, it's still their 5 minutes. And a lot of times sisters will speak and then they'll stop, and then something else will come up and I'll give them a chance to share. And we're all holding space for them. So even for people who don't feel comfortable sharing or have that much to say, it's like, we're still honoring that sister that whole time. And that's been one of the most powerful parts of my circles. I'm constantly getting feedback on that. And when I've solicited feedback, I've been doing these for a few years now. Lots of sisters have come to my circles, and that's like one of the favorite things about them. Yeah. So, but most people from my experience, most circles I've been in, they don't do that. And so I try to kind of sprinkle like the idea. But
you don't have your feather handy there, do you?
I do. Hang on. I have 2 feathers, actually. I have one.
I would love a demo. Like, show us how it's done.
Yeah. So just like that.
Wow. Just like a windscreen wiper in a way.
Yeah. And I have a fan too.
Oh, I like that one. That's nice.
I know. This one is a great blue heron feather I picked up on a morning walk at my lagoon. And this one, I bought it from an Indigenous woman.
Okay. So people notice that because they're pretty big.
Yeah.
And they're like, and you do that at like 1 minute before their time's up? Or...
No, I wear an Apple Watch that has like that haptic sort of vibrating thing. And I just set it for the time. And when the time goes, I do it. And a lot of people will wrap up right then or stop then. If people aren't sharing, they're relieved that they get to pass the talking piece that they're holding. But yeah, and I've never had a problem with people like ever. Like I've never had a problem with people not wrapping up within like 30 seconds. And usually it's much quicker.
So have you had an experience where they're literally in the middle of it and that there's so much more, but they still are able to wrap up?
That happens all the time. I mean, really. So I have a singing bowl, a Tibetan singing bowl, and I ding it. And sometimes if someone's like really right in the middle of something like really juicy for them, I will kind of wait a few seconds, but I try to like, it would be easy to, if once you like kind of push that boundary a little bit, it's like, where do you stop and how do you judge and if people notice it's like going significantly longer, then it's not really equity and sharing anymore, And so, yeah.
Okay. And then, so what if someone is finished after 2 minutes? Am I right in saying that you don't move on to the next person? You just,
That's correct.
you just are there quietly.
Yeah, and it's awkward.
Wow.
It's uncomfortable sometimes. It's but at the same time, it's so beautiful because some of those women who are like that, who are like, I don't really have much to say. I feel uncomfortable sharing, but I want to be here, but I'm, some of them, like I've seen tears during those silent,
Oh, wow.
like, it's like they're seen, they feel seen.
Yeah.
And so while people are kind of like, a lot of times with a newer person to a circle who hasn't experienced it before, they're done and they try to pass it on. And it's like, nope, it's yours. In fact, our last circle we had just on Sunday, that happened. And the gal sitting next to the gal who'd been around for several circles, who was sitting next to the new person, she said, nope, you got to hang on to it. And then we kind of all laughed.
So you didn't even have to say anything.
But no, I didn't. One of like the circle corrected. Yeah.
Wow.
That
is so cool. I'm so going to try this. I need
it's awesome.
Because even though, I'm not facilitating circles, certainly in any group environment, this equity and sharing is such an important thing, isn't it? If it's, if it's meant to be like a small group, if it's like a huge call and, you've got to, but even so, like a few questions, like if one person's asking a question that goes for 10 minutes and they're not getting to the question, it's still a problem. So, yeah.
Or if the same person keeps raising their hand and it's, and other people are too, it's kind of.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I've been thinking about these things lately, when someone goes, oh, and I've just got like another question, if that's okay. And like, and then, it's like, sometimes I've gone, yeah, okay. And then it's like, yeah, but then it creates a precedent. Like you really should say, okay, we'll swing back to you. Let's, so there's so many skills around this, isn't there? The equity and sharing. So.
And I'll be curious how you apply it because what you're doing is in the business sense, it's different than, a sacred sister circle around a fire pit. So there's going to be those nuances too.
And there's so at the moment, it's like the application for like a mentorship, it can be very similar to what you're saying. But the question mark is, how do you do equity and sharing if you've got a big group call and you open up for Q&A for like 20 minutes or something?
Yeah.
And this is where you probably just need to be a little bit like one question, 5 minutes or something like that. So it's similar, I guess. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Well, underneath this video, we're going to share the link to your course if anyone wants to check it out.
Thank you.
And yeah, if you're watching this and you have any questions for either of us, you're welcome to comment below and we'll come by and respond to that. So that's a wrap for us. Congratulations again, Christy. Thanks for having this chat with me today.
Thanks for having me here.
Yep. All right.
Bye.